Hey everybody, it's time for one of our Sunday streams. It is 7:30 p.m. on the 19th of September of 2021, and I'm here with Playful. How are you, Playful?
Well,
good. Today we're having a community stream where we're just talking about treasure for a little while. So we have a list of the 25, the 25 real-life treasure hunts that turned up millions in loot. And we've been going through this one for a couple of hours on our own time. And we're gonna talk about these, as well as maybe a couple of hidden treasures we found in our lives. But to start with, what's been going on with you, Playful?
much.
Not much?
No. Nope, not really.
You know, not me either. I did a little bit of role-playing with a friend about 4 hours ago. And that was really fun. We were doing that for a couple of hours, and we did a very fun role-playing with a robot that was basically a giant subwoofer. And that was great. But we'll just get right into it then. So, across the world, across time, and across the history of the earth, people, really any kind of person, I think this is true of everyone, have found things that they have either seen the worth of or have known the value of. And because maybe they knew they couldn't do anything with it at that moment, or they were just greedy, or, prideful, or wanted to stash away their goods for later, they have decided to hide an immense fortune somewhere on the planet, right? And sometimes it's not even on purpose. Sometimes they don't know what they have. They have something crazy expensive, crazy important, crazy valuable, and they just don't even know it. And so you get these stories about people that basically stumble sometimes onto some of the most valuable treasures, some of the most valuable finds in human history. And this is a somewhat common occurrence, but certainly 25 in the history of the world in modern history, is somewhat low. But I suppose it's a reason to keep your eyes open as a person who, buying a house or just digging someplace because you feel like it, and you actually almost literally struck oil, right? You almost literally catch lightning. It's something crazy like that where just, who could imagine finding something like any of these? Finding any of these would change your life forever. And for me, I wouldn't even know how to sell half of these. I wouldn't even know what to do with them if you happen to stumble upon something like this. So Playful, you said you were looking at number 12.
Yeah, I found 12. Very interesting.
So go ahead and explain that one to us.
Says that the Staffordshire Horde was a discovery of almost mint condition gold rush era coins. Although most treasures are found by dedicated treasure hunters, salvage teams, and hobbyists, sometimes normal people stumble across hidden loot. An example of this is the Staffordshire Horde, which was found by a Californian couple while they were out walking their dog.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Reader's reports. What the couple found was a number of rare coins in near mint condition from the gold rush era. The coins were estimated to be worth more than 10 million.
Holy
And
moly.
is considered to be one of the largest treasures found in the U.S.
That's a pretty penny. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that is a pretty penny. Holy.
Really. If I can't even imagine the serendipity of that. I mean, you're just out walking your dog, literally walking your dog, and you actually you come across that, one of the biggest treasures to ever be unearthed in modern history of the United States. I mean, I don't even know how to describe the feeling you must be getting. I would just be kind of shocked. I wouldn't feel anything. It'd be so much. I'd be like, well, I guess this is the lost gold rush coins. And that, some miner was like, I'm stashing away my gold so no one steals it, and I'll be back in just a little while. He stashed it there, and then something happened, and he just never came back to it. And it was just sitting there. And when was the gold rush? What? The 1800s or something? 1800s, late 1700s, stuff like that. Where panning and things like that and mining were really popular. It's just been sitting there for probably over 200 years, right? Or in that area.
At least.
And that gold was just waiting to be found. It was just sitting in a ditch somewhere, sitting in a hole somewhere. And some dog was like, ooh, I smell gold. And so I just went over to it. What have you got, boy? And literally it's oh, $10 billion. Well, I mean, you're getting the treat for sure. Oh man, I. That's like the kind of luck where you're like, you should buy a lottery ticket. Oh wait, you don't have to. You basically already did.
Yeah. By finding that treasure, you basically already did.
You already won the lottery at that point.
Hmm.
So here's one, number 14. The Lost Dutchman gold mine continues to mystify. There is a legend about the Lost Dutchman's gold mine, and it's been talked of for centuries. The Lost Dutchman is a nickname given to a man named Jacob Waltz, who Daily Mail notes was actually a German. He is believed to have had a secret mine in the mountains of Arizona, and there are theories that the mine is either guarded or cursed. Although it remains unfound, that hasn't stopped people from looking and has resulted in tragedy for some. So, secret treasures, right? Having somebody guard the treasure immediately makes it less secret.
Hmm.
So there's a fallacy there. Where do you hide the secret treasure? You've just gotten the king's bounty, and you're carrying the donkey. The donkey's carrying all the loot across the desert, and you're like, where do I stash all my bounty? Because you can't sell all of it at once, right? I mean, there's no way. You can barely even hold on to all of it, let alone like had carried into town with everybody looking at it and trying to grab some, and anyone could just come over and rob you. So it's like you gotta hide it somewhere. So you hide it somewhere. You're like, okay, I gotta make sure that nobody knows where it is. And you're like, but what if I forget where it is?
That can be a real problem. Some people tend to forget. Where did they put that thing again?
Yeah, it's like Arizona's a big state. Like you put a treasure somewhere. You're like, oh man, I forgot where I put the ancient mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there you go. Now it's hidden because literally nobody knows where it is. Not even the person who found it. Okay, here's one. The Atocha was carrying an impressive collection before it was sunk by a hurricane. The Nuestra Senora de Atocha was a Spanish vessel that sank to the ocean floor during a hurricane in the Florida Keys in 1622. 1622, my gosh, that's an old treasure. The Guardian reports the ship had been headed back to Spain and was carrying an impressive treasure of various pieces, including gold bars. That's the real stuff you want to look out for, the gold bars. The wreckage was found in 1985 by American treasure hunter Mel Fisher, and the publication notes that the loot recovered was worth, oh my gosh, Playful, if you're reading this, $450 million. But it was not easy to come by, and the wreckage is reported to have taken Fisher 15 years to find. So 15 years of your life to find $450 million. That's not the worst trade you could do. Honestly, you could do worse than that.
Yeah.
And I've actually...
Oddly enough, I was born in 85.
You were born in 85? I was born in 95. Wow.
But basically, he found this wreckage the same year I was born.
It's meant to be.
Maybe that is cool.
Yeah, maybe you'll find the next wreckage.
Maybe.
I have heard that the rights to who owns the wreckage, if they find it, I've heard that it's if you find it, you own it. I've heard it's as simple as that. I don't believe it's as simple as that, but that's what I've heard. And
I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I think scuba diving is really cool, and I also think that treasure hunting is kind of like that perilous, like Nathan Drake, Indiana Jones sort of thing, Tomb Raider thing, where it's like, I mean, if you're gonna go looking for treasure, basically you have to be ready to meet some nasty people who are looking for it too. Especially if it's like a famous treasure. I mean, at that point, it's like you have to be prepared for anything. And you can only imagine the trouble that people can get up to trying to find treasure. And this is assuming that there's not like ancient mummies or something guarding it, which, I mean, I don't believe there are, but I've never tried to find ancient treasures. So what can I say? But if there are such things as like mummies or wendigos or whatever, ancient spirits, then certainly like I think that that's a more interesting thing than hidden treasure. But Like imagine that's a pretty good security, is to have like a task force wildebeests guarding your treasure from the shadows, or like just like some guy in a sarcophagus waiting to come out whenever someone messes with it. I mean, pretty good stuff. You could do a lot worse than having that as your security guard.
Yeah.
But that's assuming it's like a mummy that has like powers, but not just like a guy that walks around in toilet paper. Like you don't want that. That guy can't do much. He's like slow and probably not very smart after like 1,000 years of being in a sarcophagus. But anyway, uh, here's number 19. You want to read that one for us, Playful?
Divers found more than 2,000 gold coins off the coast of. These are. I don't. Yeah.
I think it's Caesarea.
Yeah, maybe. When divers were exploring an area near the harbor of the Caesarea National Park in Israel, they found something they never expected to see: a gold coin glimmering on the ocean bed. And it was not just a single coin, as BBC know. The divers turned up more than 2,000.
Oh
coins.
my gosh.
Instead of taking the coins for themselves, the divers went about the correct legal procedure and contacted the Israeli Antique Authority, the IAA in short, to report their find. Working together, the divers recovered thousands of 24-karat gold coins that had been laying on the surface undisturbed for 1,000 years.
That's like what what even, that's from like Constantinople days. Like that's like crazy old coins. And 24 karat gold coins. I mean, they had to have like thought about it though and been like, hey, like we could just take these. I appreciate that they didn't just rob this national treasure. National Treasure is also another good series where it's like, oh, they're trying to find the hidden secret temple of George Washington or whatever. Whatever. I think it's also another Tomb Raider series. But, I mean, I don't know. Let them keep like a handful, right? I don't know.
At least.
I know that they belong to Israel, but like, I don't know, like maybe give them like, I mean, there's like thousands of them. I mean, you're not going to miss like a couple hundred, are you? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answer. That's just what I would think. Okay, so here's number 20, and this is another good one. A couple found a box of gems in the backyard of their home, and they returned it to the rightful owners. Not all treasures are buried in the depths of the ocean or in the middle of the wilderness. Some can be found in your backyard, as one American couple discovered. Although their loot was not worth billions, a New York couple found a rusted metal box buried in the ground of their Staten Island home. The box contained various gems and bills. According to news.com.au, the loot was estimated to be worth more than $52,000. The goods had been stolen from the couple's neighbors 7 years earlier, and the couple who found the treasure was good enough to return it to them. See, if it's not like millions of dollars, it's not worth like the burden of knowing you stole something, right? Like if it's just like, I don't know, this much, 52,000, I'm not gonna like make a bad decision to keep that much money because like it's not worth it. I mean, if
No.
I mean, I know I'm speaking in a little bit of like a cynical way, but to me at least, if it's not like some crazy amount where it's like, I mean, no one is going to miss $1 million out of the like $420 million of worth of stuff you find. That is like, I mean, that's like the finder's fee for me, but like something like this where it's like, oh, this is just an heirloom of somebody's that was stolen from them. That is the kind of thing I would definitely return. I'm definitely in that boat right there.
The only thing with that is, and this is just sometimes when people bury things, they're like young kids or whatever,
Sure.
and then a lot of times though that couple passes on, so then who do you return that treasure to?
I think that if the couple doesn't have any children or any family, then I mean it's just basically, I mean it's just yours, right? I mean it's just yours because if nobody can rightfully claim it as someone close to them or someone in their family, then it may as well be yours because no one's looking for it. You know, if no one's
But
looking for
that
the,
is the hard part sometimes. You
it
don't
is.
know if anybody is still alive that it used to belong to, or if at least a relative of theirs.
Yeah, and I mean that's different when we're talking about like an ancient treasure that belongs to like a national heritage, of course. But if it's just like some stuff that somebody left behind, or like a gold necklace or something that somebody didn't remember that they like didn't pack or something, I mean that's different. And if you can find the owner to that, then that's probably the right thing to do. It's just like if we're talking about some crazy amount of money, it's I don't know how immoral it is to take a handful of those coins, right? You know, I mean, it's not like you're not doing a good thing, but at the same time, I don't think that I don't know. I don't have the answers. I know that much. I
Neither, is just something that kind of popped up in my head.
huh?
It was just something that came to thought.
It is. It is something that I think about a little bit when approaching these situations. So here's number 22. The SS Gersopa was carrying thousands of silver bars, thousands, and made one salvage team very rich. The British merchant ship, the SS Gersopa, was traveling from India when it was hit by a German U-boat torpedo in 1941. That's horrible. And sank around 300 miles off the coast of Ireland. Oh, so there's no way you're gonna find this thing unless you're like, unless you're looking hard, because that's a lot to look for.
Oh yeah.
Daily Mail reports, according to the publication, the ship sank in just 20 minutes from a single torpedo, and only one crew member was able to escape the tragedy. Years later, it made headlines for another reason. A salvage mission by an American company turned up thousands of silver bars, estimated to be worth $37 million. Gosh, $37 million in silver. The company was under contract with the British government, which would get 20% of the findings for the British Treasury. See, I'm fine with that. I mean, 20% of 37 million, and let's say you split that 30 ways, right? That's still like $1 million per person. Like, that's not something to, oh, I didn't get my full, you know, I mean, if I get $1 million from anything, then I'm fine. You know, you don't need
Yeah.
much else in life. Just store that away and save it until you need it.
Yeah. And honestly, you don't need money to be rich.
You don't. And
You have to eat it.
it is completely normal for somebody to have a lot of money and not be happy. That is completely normal. And it is quite a bit better to simply just uh, live a life that is spiritually wealthy as opposed to financially wealthy. And
Yeah, because money has never been and never will be everything.
it's true.
People say that it people say that, but money is still not everything.
It's the
Family and
nature.
everything else is
It's true.
everything.
It's true. It's the nature of the world we live in. The society,
Yeah.
especially of the United States, is very capitalistic, and it does tend to lean everybody towards trying to earn some kind of capital or some kind of paycheck, stipend, whatever, so they can
Yeah.
actually live the way they dream of or live the way they want to. It is definitely not something that is like a be all end all, though. There is a lot more out there that's more valuable than, I don't know, $1 million, whatever amount you could imagine having
Yeah.
existing in some kind of dream scenario. Give me 1 second.
Did it go out again? Ugh.
So sorry about that, folks. But here's number 11. You want to read this one for us, Playful?
Sure, I get to it.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. The Hawksney Hoard was one of the most valuable treasures to have ever been found. According to Mental Floss, the Hawksney Hoard was one of the biggest treasure troves ever found, and it was just discovered like a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
More than
Like 20 years ago.
at least 1992 it was found. The discovery happened quite by chance after a farmer lost his hammer in his field and asked a friend with a metal detector to come and help him locate it. What a good way to locate it. Yeah. Anyways, what they found was far better, and the publication notes that they uncovered a note that they uncovered an oak chest filled with valuables, including jewelry, coins, and silver spoons.
Silver spoons.
Yeah, I remember, not really, but I remember hearing about them. The collection is believed to date back to the 4th or 5th century CE and had an estimated worth of 3.8 million.
Okay, so that's a find. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can just imagine, like, you have this horrific amount of money, right? Like, I don't know if I've ever seen anything worth almost $4 million in one spot, right? I've been to museums and stuff, but even that, like, I haven't been to any museums that have that kind of currency and capital being held in them.
Yeah.
But if you
But
could,
just that find is insane. They were looking
Yeah.
for something else, and boom,
I
found
mean,
the treasure as well.
people go and they have like tons of outings, right? People like treasure hunters and people with metal detectors, stuff like that. They just go out and they try to find stuff, but that's on purpose. And most of those people never find anything, besides like a nail or like an iron ring, or every now and again they'll find like a locket and stuff like that. But this is the discovery of a lifetime.
And it was by a complete freaking accident. They
It
were looking
was.
for something else.
And if you can imagine like a person who found all this loot and put it all together, they had that oak chest and they were like, okay, I'll just bury this somewhere, like a land pirate almost. And yeah, I know. And they just find this and they bury it somewhere. Like that's their idea is like, oh, I'll just bury it. It's fine. I'll come back for it later. And they never came back for it. And it was just sitting there for what? 15,000 years. Just
And then just somebody by chance, because he lost something.
Oh, sorry, 1,500 years, not 15,000 years. That's crazy. 1,500 years. And someone just comes along and finds it by accident because they're looking for their hammer.
Or just anything else. That's insane how that happens.
It is. And a person just, they didn't intend to find 3.8 million that day. They're like, they were just looking for their hammer.
What the heck? That is crazy how they're looking for something else and then come across
one of the biggest depositories of wealth from a random person, just hiding it somewhere of all time. It just like you just happen to find it. Oh, I mean, I know it was always there. They didn't appear because they were lucky. It's just such an amazing, incredible find that you can't even imagine, like, the spectacle of being like, yeah, I found this crazy sword or whatever, or like I found the hoard of Staffordshire or whatever you might find. And this is a good example of that. A man with a metal detector came across the Staffordshire Horde with more than 4 million. The Staffordshire Horde was found by a man using a metal detector in a field near Hammerwich in Staffordshire, England, Mental Floss reports. What he found was an impressive Anglo-Saxon treasure, And this is one of the cases where, like, if he was doing this on purpose, then he's one of the few people that ever finds treasure on purpose like this. It was consisting of more than 3,500 pieces with an estimated value of around 4.1 million. These pieces, included weapons, decorative pieces, and religious artifacts, and are believed to date back to the 8th century. So, around 1,200 years of just sitting there doing nothing.
Wow. Not even rotting.
Hey, they made their weapons good. The finding later made headlines for a different reason: the feud between the farmers whose land it was found on and the men who found the valuables. The feud resulted in the farmers banning the treasure hunter from his land. Oh, I mean, that's fine. Oh, no, I can't go back to this random farmer's property. Oh, boo-hoo. Gosh. Hey, So this is a thing that I would find difficulty coming to terms with, of course, because, like, let's say you just own a farm, right? You're not, like, poor, but you're not really rich. You just own a farm and some cattle, and, you know, everything's just kind of normal for you. One day, some crackpot with a metal detector comes by. It's like, hey, can I search your land? And you're like, fine, it's fine. You're not going to find anything. And they find, like, $4 million worth of Anglo-Saxon treasure. Like, how do you feel about that? That's like, that's been there the whole time? I didn't know. But it's like
oh, really? I could have found that, and yet some random person does before I could? What the heck?
It's like half thinking like I should have found that, and half being like it was on my land, so it should be mine. Which I appreciate the thought process, right? I can get it. I can get why someone would feel that way. But if you give somebody the consent to treasure hunt on your property, I mean, they're not there to give you the treasure, right? They're not there to treasure hunt for you. They're doing it for themselves. And if that wasn't clear enough, like, already, then, I mean, I'm not sure what to say, because, like, obviously they're not there to find treasure so they can give it to you, right? Unless they say that. They're there to find treasure for, like, posterity at the least. But usually it's like, I just want to get, like, rich off of some Anglo-Saxon treasure, right? And, you know, they find it that way. But you'd be surprised. The Anglo-Saxons, they knew how to make a sword, and they were very decorative with their jewelry. Surprisingly so. And it's lovely to see it, because they do have a sense of style to them. So here's one. The Ringlemeyer Gold Cup is a solid 20-karat gold artifact found on a farm in England. You know, what is with these land pirates hiding all their booty, their swag, in farmlands? I mean...
Really. But then again, you have to admit that long ago, maybe it wasn't a farmland.
Maybe, but, like...
something else.
To be fair, if it already was farmland, I mean, that it's safe to say nobody's going to go looking around there, because it's the most boring place in the world is a farmland in England where nothing's happening. Sometimes
in general, like maybe somewhere in where I live, somebody could find something.
Well, sure. And
it's
you
hard
have
to believe it was something else that so many years ago.
And it's like, people, to this day, and this is probably what we'll do next if we have some time, there are treasures, you know, still out there, still buried, still waiting to be discovered, and they just need to be found by the right person with the right tools, which is like the Tomb Raider part of treasure hunting, is figuring out puzzles and mazes and riddles and stuff like that. But in the case of this story, sometimes all you need is a metal detector and a lot of dedication to unearth something truly magnificent. A man by the name of Cliff Bradshaw was searching a field at Woodsboro in Kent, England, when he came across something special. A gold ceremonial cup from the Bronze Age. My gosh, man, that's old. The cup was a solid piece of 20-karat gold, and archaeologists believed it to be one of the most important Bronze Age finds in Britain. The publication notes, "So how much is the single cup worth?" According to the BBC, it was valued at around $250,000. So it's not bad, but it's not like it's not a $450 million, I have to say. But
Yeah.
I mean, I can't be mad that he found something good. It's a little less than most of the other items on this list, but still something. And here is, I don't know how anyone could find that list, but the beautifully detailed, this number 2, Thracian beverage set was found by 3 lucky brothers on a regular day of work. In 1949, near the town of Panegyurist in Bulgaria, 3 brothers, Pavel, Petko, and Miguel, these are such Bulgarian names, Dekov, were working at a tile factory when they came across the Panegyurist gold treasure, archaeology in Bulgaria reports. The treasure is a Thracian beverage set made from 24 karat gold. I mean, if you have that much gold to spend it on this much stuff, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's insane.
A full beverage set. And according to Visit Bulgaria, these detailed pieces have a ritualistic function and were used in ceremonies and feasts. The pieces date between the 14th and 3rd century BC. That means that this set of like gold and stuff was over 2,000 years old.
You know what BC stands for?
Yeah, before Jeebus.
Yeah, technically.
So I mean,
Sure if you knew.
I do. That it's a long time is what it stands for. Long time. Man. And I mean, there is some confusion as to how the treasure came to be buried in this location, but it was a find of great archaeological importance. Gosh. I wouldn't even know what to do if I found this. I'd be like, who do I call?
Yeah, really.
I mean, I could call my mom, but I don't know if she'll know any better.
Yeah, who knows?
So here's number 1. The most valuable thing ever found by random accident.
Wow.
I know. One of the most valuable baseball card collections were lying in an old box in an attic. You know, I have never been interested in collecting baseball cards myself.
Me neither.
Yeah, I don't see like a lot of feeling and interest in it. I don't really collect like a lot of anything. I used to collect swords and stuff like that, typical, male thing to visit or to find swords and hold on to them, which I do admit I feel a tad of embarrassment for, but for the most part, I just like, I don't have that much sentiment for that many things that I want to collect all of them that I can find, but some people just love their baseball cards, even more than like stamp collectors,
Yeah.
So here's the story. In 2012, a man made an extraordinary discovery in the attic of his grandfather's home. In the attic was a wooden box with some of the most valuable contents inside. Hundreds of rare baseball cards. According to Fox News, the cards came from a rare series dated around 1910. And unlike other cards at the time, these were in exceptional condition. Experts noted that this was a great find for sports card collecting, and the collection was estimated to be worth more than $3 million. 3 million smackaroonies in baseball cards.
And it was only found 9 years ago.
9 years ago, and all those smackaroonies were just waiting to be found.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that this card's gonna be worth that much, but I mean, beholder's eye and all that. So who am I to say what it's worth, right? Who am I to say?
Exactly, but that would be crazy.
It would be. So, 25 of 25. You want to read this one for us?
The treasure of San Jose lay undiscovered for hundreds of years, and it's worth billions,
Of course.
obviously. Perhaps one of the most impressive treasures to have ever been found was aboard the Spanish galleon known as the San Jose. The wreck was found at the bottom of the Caribbean off the Colombian coast, 307 years after it sunk.
Oh my
Los
gosh.
Angeles reports. The publication notes that the ship sunk during a battle with the English, and the haul of gold and silver it was carrying was worth billions. The gold, silver, and emerald hoard was from the mines of Peru and headed to Europe to help aid the War of Spanish Succession. Wow.
So, it was like. It was like, if you can think about like the situation that had to arise for all of that to occur, you know, so many things had to align in the proper order.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, and it was a series of unexpected events occurring all together at once, and because of that, this gold was just laying what at the bottom of the ocean, bottom of the Caribbean, for over
Caribbean,
for over
like a
300
boat.
for over 300 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
I like to think though that during that time, plenty of fish swam by and got to investigate it.
Yeah, at least plenty of fish, plenty of any of the any of the sea creatures. To be honest,
I mean, I have heard that there are some sea creatures that are very attracted to shiny and like shimmering things. I'm not sure if this was high enough in the water for them to be actually seen by the fish and to to reflect anything. But I do like the idea that for sure that I'm sure like a octopus came by and visited the treasure every now and again.
yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure it would have been like right at the bottom of the ocean. So any of like say a crab,
Aw,
any of those sea creatures that go across the floor would be able to find that.
aw, a crab and his treasure. That sounds
Well, that's an
fantastic.
example because they cannot. They can only go on sand or hard surfaces, and then fish are kind of sometimes way above, depending on how far they go.
I just love the idea of a crab scuttling by and just
That would be cool.
taking a look at the treasure and being like, oh, that's neat, and then they just leave because I mean, what does a crab have to want with gold, right? Crabs are not beasts that care for the riches of things like that. To be a crab, I think about that sometimes. A crab
To
that
be
lives.
any kind of animal instead of a human being would be cool.
I mean, I'd want to be a crab that doesn't, of course, have like a crazy thing happen to it, but just a crab that has a good life. I'd like that a lot. I'd like that a lot. So, here is number 7. This reminds me of James Dean's car. Or was it James Dean? Yeah. One of the rarest Ferraris, let's say, in the world, was gathering dust in a barn in Japan. And this is actually really, really common. When you have a car collector, oftentimes, oftentimes they have no idea how valuable their car is at all, right? Like someone just buys a car and it's like, oh, I have this car and I'm just gonna, have it here and drive it every now and again. And like we talked about, something happens to them and their car, I mean, if they own the land and like the people who buy it or get it inherited, they don't know what it's worth, and they're just like, oh well, it's grandpa's old car and we just leave it there because it's how he would have wanted it. And lo and behold, it happens to be a rare 1969 Ferrari 365 GTB for Daytona, which was found in 2017 in a Japanese barn. And this discovery was made especially exciting for car enthusiasts because, according to CNN, only one street version of its Daytona with a full aluminum body had ever been made by the Italian car company. So this is the rarest car that Ferrari has ever produced.
And it was only 4 years ago.
Yes. As far as how it came to be in Japan, the publication notes that it had been shipped out in 1971 to a Japanese dealership, and in 1980 ended up in ownership of a man named Makoto Takai, whose barn it was later found in. The sports car had been gathering dust for years and was sold in this condition, unrestored, for $2.17 million. I know. Holy moly. And I think the last one we'll do before we move on to the current treasures is number 8 on this list. The largest collection of Roman coins weren't found by a pro. They were found by a hospital chef. Near the English town of Frome, what a great name, the largest single collection of Roman coins, the Roman coins found in Frome, were found in 2010, Daily Mail reports. This collection became known as the Frome Horde, and the collection consisted of a rounded pot containing 52,503 silver and copper alloy coins. Only 5 are silver denarii of the Emperor Carausius, while the rest are copper alloy. It wasn't a professional company that came across the collection, dating between AD 253 and AD 293. Rather, it was a hospital chef named Dave Crisp. What a great name.
Ow.
Isn't that a great name?
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of a character I made once for a vampire hunter game. Old times, right? Old times. So we're going to look at treasures. Let's see. Top 10 treasures. The top 10 most valuable treasures ever found. Let's see if we have any of these that are actually interesting. But I don't think I would ever be a treasure hunter. I mean, like maybe if it was for like a fun thing with me and somebody else, I might consider it. But like, just being like, oh, I'm just gonna dedicate my life to going to find treasures. That's too much. That's not for me. That's not for me. There we go. Treasures you could still find. 10 real-life hidden treasures you could still find. Forrest Fenn treasure. Forrest Fenn wants you to have all of his money when he passes. When Fenn was only 9 years old, he found an arrowhead near his home in Texas, an arrowhead that would shape the rest of his life. Fenn fell in love with ancient artifacts. After becoming a pilot in the Air Force in the 1960s, Fenn regularly flew his plane to Pompeii to look for artifacts, of which he found plenty. When the 1980s hit, Fenn was diagnosed with kidney cancer and told he would only have a few years to live. With his mortality looking him right in the face, Fenn decided to hide his most beloved artifacts and give everyone the clues to find his treasure, which he estimates to hold $1 to $3 million worth of gold, jewelry, and valuable artifacts. So that's fine. I'm completely fine with that. I think that, like, having people look for your treasure, doesn't that feel a little bit like, I don't know, what's the right word for it? A little bit like, self-applauding, self-aggrandizing, like,
I really don't know.
it feels a lot like somebody who's trying to hype themselves up and leave kind of a legacy, but it does seem a bit strange to me. I don't know if I would ever bury treasure, right? Like, you'd have to be in a weird position for me to be like, hey, I'm going to bury treasure, and just hope someone finds it. I have no idea if I would ever get into that, but I do think that there are certainly reasons to bury treasure. I don't think I'm ever going to have those reasons myself.
Probably not.
So here's one. Treasure in the Mojave Desert. It may sound crazy that an ocean-going ship sunk 160 kilometers inland of the Pacific Ocean. In the Mojave Desert, no less. But if it is true, there are millions of dollars worth of pearls in the Salton Sea. Pearls, my gosh. Why did it have to be pearls? Experts believe a large tide from the Gulf of California collided with runoff from the Colorado River. Enough water runoff developed that the ship, presumed to be Spanish, was carried into the Salton Sea. The ship would have been forgotten forever if it weren't for the abundance of pearls on board. Surprisingly, there's a twist to the story. In 1870, the Los Angeles Star produced a story about a man named Charlie Clusker, what a name, who went out in search of the ship and actually found the treasure. But since the date the story ran, no other mention of Clusker or the ship he found has been dug up, leading many people to believe the ship and its pearls are still out there. They very well may be. Have you ever heard, now I'll tell that story some other time. Here's number 2. 200 million off the coast of Key West. In 1622, the Spanish galleon Nuestra Señora de Atocha. Actually, we heard about this. Most of it's already been fed. Okay, cool. The treasure of San Miguel. In 1712, Spain assembled one of the richest treasure fleets to ever be assembled at the time. By 1715, Spain had amassed a fleet of 11 ships, all filled to the brim with silver, gold, pearls, and jewels, which are estimated to be worth around $2 billion by today's standards. My gosh. What would you ever need that much jewelry for? That much gold? The plan for the ships was to leave from Cuba for the mainland just before hurricane season hit, hoping that hurricane season would be a deterrent to pirates and privateers. It turned out that leaving so close to hurricane season was a mistake. Just 6 days after leaving the shores of Cuba, all the ships had sunk. Thousands of sailors had not survived, and every bit of gold, silver, and jewelry was doomed to lay at the bottom of the sea. Since then, 7 of the ships have been recovered, but experts believe only a small amount of the valuables on the ships has been found, because of course, like a crab got most of it or something. Crabs over the years have gotten most of the treasure, That
or
one...
just any kind of animal in general that lives where, like,
I mean, it's more than likely the tide that has gotten most of it, or that it's been buried permanently beneath like coral reefs or something. But I like to think that over time, some animals have grabbed some of the coins, and scuttled off with them just because they don't know what they are and they look cool.
Yeah, they just look shiny.
They look shiny. The one ship that has yet to be found is the San Miguel, the ship that experts believe contains most of the treasure. But where is it? Well, most of the ships that have been found have been located off the eastern shores of Florida, although some of the ships may have made it farther out to the sea before sinking. So these are some of the most interesting treasures. I mean, I have never even heard about these things before this, so this is all news to me. Rissy, hello. How are you?
I knew she was going to be around, but she was just going to be late because she had to work.
It's true. She was busy doing her thing. Well, welcome to the stream. We're actually just closing up here, but we're glad to have you regardless. Yeah, we were just talking about treasures. Didn't work, MC. But she means you.
Club, so technically, it would still work, but it wasn't.
You know what she means, though. You know what she means, right? You know what she means. Unfortunately, we're just getting ready to head out. But so do you think that you have found any of this to be something that would like tempt you into searching? Right? Would any of this tempt you into too bad? Yeah, I know it's too bad, but there's always next time, Rissy. Does any of this tempt you into searching for forgotten treasures?
Trying to find some for sure. But where would I look? I have no idea.
I'm the same way. I mean, I wouldn't know where to look. You streamed again today. Well, lovely, Rissy. Did you stream some more of your Beat Saber? I know you were talking about that for a little while. You did. Lovely. I'm very glad to hear that you're getting back into it. Streaming can be very great for you.
And I recently just followed her on her stream too.
You know what? I'm going to go do that as well. Let me go and open up your... Let me go and open up your thingy.
I just followed her today.
I'm going to follow her right now. Ooh, 22 followers. You're doing great. This channel is intended for a mature audience, well, you know.
No kidding.
Oh, I'm already followed to you, Rissy. Never mind. I'm already followed to you.
Whoops.
No whoops. It's really... It's all good.
I know, it's just you forgot you were.
I forgot. It's true. I forgot. You missed playing Beat Saber. Oh. I think about playing VR games sometimes. I'm like, man, I'd like to play like a VR, like Gorn, or I'd like to play something like that where I can have a great time with. It's so much fun. I believe you. It does seem like a lot of fun. But I am very interested in. I mean, I'm interested in finding things, right? I mean, who doesn't want to find things? At the same time, finding a hidden treasure worth millions or billions, my gosh, I don't know. You should do the climbing game that you have. Yeah, that might be really fun. I don't know how I would feel about that. Maybe I would be interested if there was like a lead and someone wanted someone to come along with them. To get like 1% of it or something. I don't know though. I don't know. Either way, we've come to the end of our time, folks. Thank you so much for participating with us, Rissy, and as always, thank you for co-hosting with me, Playful. It's always a lovely and a grand time.
I always have a good time too.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that. We are going to call it there then. You guys listening now and in the future, have a lovely evening, and as always, oh, it's okay, Rissy. Don't need to be sorry at all. You can always watch them on YouTube whenever I upload them, because even just watching those makes me very happy. So everybody
And
out
I
there,
know that for some people, if they save on here too, so she could rewatch it if she wants on here.
you can come by and watch it on the VOD later on. It'll be up for a few weeks before it goes up on YouTube. But don't feel bad. It's really all right. So we'll see you guys later, and make sure you have a lovely night. See you next time, folks, and take care. Bye-bye.